Hi, it's the Rawsome Vegan Gal here, and I am going to be making a special soup for the Sabbath, and I will show it to you in just a second once I get into view. Hello, welcome, and I'm going to be making a special tomato gazpacho soup with sun-dried tomatoes and some wonderful organic and alive sesame tahini from Living Tree Community. And they also provided me with their sun-dried tomatoes, and I'm going to open up the package, if I can do that, and show you what sun-dried tomatoes look like. And these are really great sun-dried tomatoes, if you can see that up close and personal. They are actually sun-dried without any salt or oil, which I like. I prefer not to use that in my product. I like to add my own seasoning. So first what I do is I soak it in water. I soak it actually in my jar where I put my soup in, so it's easier to do. I soak it with about this much water, and then I let it sit in the room temperature, and then I put it in the fridge overnight. And then what I do is I transfer it to my jar here, where I'm going to be blending it in my personal blender, and I add tomato. We've got our wonderful heirloom tomato. I show you some of our ingredients here that we're using today. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to add, to make it a little more creamy, so it's going to be a creamy tomato gazpacho soup. So I'm going to add a little bit of the sesame tahini right in with the tomatoes, probably about a tablespoon or two. I can get that into my container here. It's really nice tahini that they sell, and I will include a link to their website for you to check out the products that they sell. They sell a lot of really great products, and different nut butters. They sell all different kind of dried products. So that's their sesame tahini. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we have our personal blender right over here, and we're going to put our cover on it. So this is actually the one that comes with a mason jar attachment. So I also have glass ones, and when you do with the glass, they have a special other piece that attaches to this one. So we're just going to whip this up. So excuse the noise for a minute, it will be done pretty fast. We're actually going to stop it for a minute. When you use sun-dried tomatoes, that's why it's better to soak them overnight, because it will take longer. So let's do it a little more. Make sure that the tomatoes get blended really well. Sometimes they take a little longer. But when you soak them overnight, that helps a lot. So, as you can see, you have this beautiful color, beautiful red color here. And the creamy tahini gives it a little more, the blonde color actually takes away some of the tomato color, but that's okay. It still looks beautiful. So we have this lovely container of our soup that's going to be added to our ingredients here. So I'm going to tell you what we have in our jar. We're using some bell pepper and some zucchini, which I grated. I have 2 of these zucchinis I grated with this medium-sized grater. And then we're also adding some chopped peas and some delicious fresh rosemary. Yum. And also this is a Meyer lemon, and we juiced that into there, about a half of one. And I didn't use this big of a pepper. I used so it'll be about half of this pepper, and I did use a larger tomato. And also, so you know, I used about 10 sun-dried tomato pieces that I soaked. And then I also am adding some other seasoning. I have these in these wonderful bags from a company called BioBag. These are their resealable kind of Ziploc type bags, and they're certified compostable, non-GMO. They're not actually made from plastic, and I'll have a link for their site as well. So what I added to my tomato gazpacho, creamy tomato gazpacho, is some turmeric, and I used this spoon, so about a teaspoon. And then I also added some paprika, which I have in here, and I also added some Italian seasoning. The Italian seasoning includes oregano, marjoram, thyme, rosemary, basil, and sage. So that's really nice, even though I also put fresh rosemary. And I put probably a couple of tablespoons in that because I wanted to fill up this jar. So it's going to have a lot of different flavorings to soak up with the juice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up our lovely mixture here. And I am going to pour that into the jar. Right like that, and it's kind of thick right now, and then what we're going to do is we will add some water. What I like to do, and it'll filter down into the jar, as you can see it will. And then what I like to do is I like to add some water right into this container. And this is a bottle from a company called Nature's Design, and it's distributed by Foods Alive, and I'll have a link for them as well. It's a great bottle. It changes the energetic frequency of the water. So what we're going to do is we're just adding some water into here, and there's still some thickness in our container on top, so we're going to close that up so it doesn't leak out. And it leaks out a little bit, unfortunately. It's not perfected, so we're going to shake that up a little so we get most of the juice. And then we're going to pour that back into our jar over here, as you can see, to fill it up. And then once we're done with this, what we're going to do is we are going to put it into the fridge and let it sit so that it marinates. Now, if you make this the day before, today is actually Friday when I'm making it, and the Sabbath starts this evening. So what I like to do is I like to let it sit at least for a little while so that the flavors can all mesh into the vegetables. And if you like other seasonings, you can also add grated ginger juice. You can add garlic if you like. You can add scallions. If you like other fresh herbs, you can do that too. So you see it's still filtering down. I'm going to mix that up shortly. So that's basically the tomato gazpacho soup. The creamy, because I added creaminess to it. So the sky's the limit as to what you want to put into a gazpacho. This is just my own version. I've also sometimes have put fresh dill. I've put finely cut bok choy, the greens and the stem, very fine chiffonade, so it gets in, it marinates into the vegetables and it softens it up and it tastes so wonderful. So it's endless. Whatever's in season is how I try to stick with it and do it that way. I always like the zucchini. I grate it in. I always like the flavor of that. It's almost like a tomato, thick tomato sauce. Even you could use that, like the soup, you can actually pour that over like quinoa or something like that if you want instead, and it's delicious that way too. You know, if it gets thicker and you don't add water to it when you serve it, that's another way to do it. It's just really nice. So that's my lovely tomato gazpacho, creamy tomato gazpacho, and I thank you for watching. This is the Rawesome Vegan Gal.